Hey guys, and you're welcome to Check My Guns. My name is Carl, and today we will look at what I consider to be the best Mosin Nagant rifle there is in the world, VZ54. But first, let me thank my friend and collector who gave me opportunity to make this video here in his man cave. Let's check it out. And yes, I know, it's stupid to say that something is the best in the world, but I think I can prove you why I consider this rifle to be the best. And it's gonna take a while, so take a seat. Let's talk about the history of this rifle. After Second World War, it was pretty obvious the role of sniper rifles in future conflicts, so Czechoslovakian army decided to develop one. The task was given to Otakar Galas, who was already a father of famous and successful hunting rifle ZG47. Z stands for Zbrojovka Brno, as Brno Firearms Company, and G for Galas. Number 47 is a year when the development is finished. First prototype was ZG49SN. SN stands for sniper. Here's a picture. It was a really interesting rifle using Moser style bolt, and it was using a really interesting cartridge, 7.92 by 64, which was made out of 8 by 64 ammo. Later on, it was decided to go for a 7.62 by 54R, so Otakar Galas came up with another two prototypes, this time called ZG51SN. And why two? Because one was using a Moser style bolt and second was using Mosin Nagant bolt. You can see pictures of these two prototypes somewhere around here. So these prototypes were tested, and it was decided that only the one with a Mosin Nagant bolt will be going for further development. The decision wasn't really taken after this test. The decision was made because in Czechoslovakia there were already huge stocks of existing Mosin Nagant rifles, and it was just cheaper to rebuild them into a new sniper rifle. Today we can only guess what was the opinion of Otakar Galas on this decision. In some books you can find information that he wasn't very pleased. He liked the Moser style bolt way more. When the development of this rifle was finished, it went through army trials, which was pretty hard task. If you consider that this gun had to hit the target repeatedly, 10 out of 10 on a distance of 800 meters, which is half a mile, shooting on the target 50 by 50 centimeters or 20 by 20 inch. So 10 out of 10, half a mile. It's pretty impressive with a 2.5 magnification scope. After trials, the rifle was accepted by Czechoslovakian military. And planning for production started, hoping to build 100 pieces in 1955. But the preparation for this production was so slow that production started in December 1955. And in the year 1956, the major issues showed up, mainly caused by Mosin Nagant, which needed to be rebuilt into this rifle. Those Mosin Nagant rifles were built with a poor quality. We can only guess that it was probably a war production. So to have a reliable rifle built out of them, you had to take a receiver and to make a new thread for a barrel, because threads on those Mosin Nagants were always different. So they made a bigger thread for a new barrel, and also when they were selecting new bolts for new rifles, they went through 16,000 Mosin Nagant rifles to select only 2,500 acceptable bolts, and that only in the year 1956. If we consider the same quality check overall production, then it means that they had to go through 34,000 Mosin Nagant rifles to build the whole production of VZ54, which is amazing. With this kind of trouble, only 183 rifles were made in the year 1956, even though the plan was 4,000. But the next year was really crucial for this rifle. 5,410 were made in the year 1957. an additional 3 in year 1958. That comes to a number 5,596 rifles ever made. Some of them were sold to East Germany or Indonesia. I don't really remember the numbers, but I'll put it somewhere on the screen. But the biggest export of VZ-54 from Czechoslovakia was to North Vietnam during the Vietnam War as military help. 1,460 rifles were sent to North Vietnam. There is one proof of presence of VZ-54 in Vietnam War, and that is this picture. The description of the picture says that it's a soldier named Young from 1st USMC Division during Oklahoma Hills operation northwest of Da Nang. And now we will look at the rifle in a more detailed way and discuss the main differences between VZ-54 and standard Mosin Nagants. So obviously there is a new stock, which was made brand new, and it's probably way more comfortable than standard Mosin Nagant stock. There is a new barrel, which was made shorter by 30 millimeters and also thicker than Mosin Nagants. And at the end here, this last section, we can see it here on the poster, has no rifling there to protect the muzzle, crown, and also it acts as a flash hider. By the way, this poster, it was made for educational purposes for Czechoslovakian military, and you can see it at the end of the video. Also, there is a difference in iron sights. There are different ones going in 50-meter increments up to 700, and from 700 to 1200 it goes in 100-meter increments. If we look at the rifle, we see that there is a different scope mount. It acts as one piece. We will discuss that in a second. And if we look at the trigger system, I just want to mention that the trigger system was adjusted to fit more for sniper rifle purposes, so it's lighter and better than standard Mosin Nagant. And now we can discuss the most complicated topic, which is numbering of these rifles. I'm not gonna tell you all the legends about it, that's gonna be in a separate video called Legends, but we can discuss proof markings and everything on this particular rifle. If we look at the markings, on the top we see SHE, which is the code for manufacturer. In this case, Zbrojovka Uherský Brod. Interesting thing is that, as I mentioned earlier, the prototypes were marked ZG, where Z stands for Zbrojovka Brno, as a Brno firearms company. But the production was moved to Uherský Brod, today's CZUB factory. It continues with a year 57 marking, 2 crossed swords, which is a standard marking for Czechoslovakian military, and a production number starting with Z series. The markings we have on the bottom are actually civil proving markings when the rifle was taken out of military and put on a civil market. So obviously it was in the year 95. Here you cannot really see it, but this proving marking is a lion. Czech proving mark. If you ask me what these numbers are for, that's nothing. That's just a number of protocol. So you can look it up in the year 95, under which number it was proof marked. We can find the same civil proving mark here on the barrel. And we can continue with other numbers. Here is a number on a scope mount. Here's a number on a scope, which usually starts with F. Here we have a symbol of Czechoslovakian military, 2 crossed swords. Of course, there's a number also on the stock. The number confusion continues here on the bottom of the rifle also. There's a different number on trigger guard and also on the bottom of magazine. There is one more special number on the bottom of this rifle, and we can only guess what it was for. But my guess would be that after these rifles served in military, it was given into Svazarm, which were special groups supported by Communist Party, training civilians how to operate with guns in case of war. A brief look from the other side. There is not much to see except one thing. Look at the bolt handle. It hasn't been bent. It was cut and welded on bolt again in this direction, which is unique for VZ-54. Let's take the bolt out and look at it. So bolt is standard Mosin Nagant bolt, but it was made black. Here we have a number, again with Z, and here we have a Czech lion on top. The numbers are all over the place. But what's interesting, if we look in this corner, but maybe even better would be to look here, we can see that there is a symbol of Izhevsk. So we can be sure that this bolt was made in Russia and it was just used to build VZ54. One other thing which is quite interesting is this cutout in a bolt handle, and I'll show you what this is for. We have our bolt out, and what we are gonna do is that we'll untie these screws to be able to take the scope mount and scope off. Yeah, if we look at those screws, they fit perfectly in the bolt handle. Pretty sweet feature. Now we slide the scope with a scope mount off the receiver. It's pretty tight. Yes, and now we see how it acts as one piece. It's actually attached in these rails inside. But yeah, you don't really take that apart because you can get into trouble. If we talk about the scope a bit more, it's 2.5 times magnified, made in Meopta, with a symbol of Czechoslovakian army. I have seen this scope only on one other rifle, and that was Egyptian sniper FN-49. I can show you a picture. Here it is. So yeah, pretty complex piece of machinery for a scope mount. If we look now, here's a section for stripper clips, but you cannot really feed it with a scope on. And this is the rail for scope mount, which was attached to the receiver. Scope mount was made high enough so you can still use the iron sights. And here we can see that there is a simple German reticle in the scope. It is hard to compare the standard Mosin Nagant rifle and VZ54. They were designed more than 50 years apart from each other. But this is still Mosin Nagant, and it's not something you do at your home in your garage. This was mass production rifle. And if we consider that there were thousands of Mosin Nagants search for parts to build VZ54s, and the rifle itself was built into sniper standards, I think that those are pretty solid arguments to say that this is the best Mosin Nagant rifle there is. There were not so many 54s made, and there are not so many of them around anymore because they were sporterized or other modified. If you can find one in original shape, you should buy it because it's continuously rising in price. VZ54 served in military until 1970s, when it was replaced with Dragunov. Some of them found their way into police forces where they were modified into the model 54/90 or 91. Both of these names you can find online. I don't know if they are official. You can see how they look on this picture. It had adjustable stock, bipod and PSO1 scope. No one knows what happened to those modified rifles, and it's kind of a mystery. And with this mystery we will end this video. There's way more to learn about this rifle. And there will be more in upcoming videos called Accessories and Legends. If you don't want to miss that, press the subscribe and like this video. And we will see each other next time. Boom.